All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Ron Line Report. It's Friday afternoon, and I have someone very special today. He is IFBB Pro League Classic Pro. He is also host of the Overcome podcast right here on YouTube, and he's the author of the new Peptide Encyclopedia ebook. Please welcome
Yes, sir.
Leo Mayrhofer. Did I say it right?
Mayrhofer. Almost.
Mayrhofer.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes his your English. I say this every time, but it's staggering to me how you have zero accent. You could have been like in the CIA or some special agent or something because you're that good at English. But well, welcome. Yeah. I want to put it up on screen. And first question is always, what gave you the idea for this particular book? Because that's the science of steroids. That's a different one. Let's go.
That's my first book, and obviously, people don't only use steroids; they also use peptides, and especially like growth hormone. That's the peptide everyone's been using for a long time. But now we got all these other ones. I mean, there are hundreds. I put in the one compounds, which are the most available nowadays too, because what sense does it make if I have compounds in there that no one can ever get anyways? So and I wanted to educate people also a little bit on that there's not that much research, and you still have to be careful, and you shouldn't do things just long term just because you think, oh, I need to reduce my inflammation a bit. You should always fix your problems in the most natural way without any additives. But when you need them, put them in. So when you need healing, put in the peptides, but don't use them forever. Don't replace anything. They're not. It's the same with steroids. There are performance enhancing drugs, not performance replacing drugs. So you want to still do the work and do what's good, but in a lot of scenarios, they make sense. They make sense for dieting for some people. They make sense for healing or for their skin or mitochondrial health, resetting metabolic dysfunctions, for gut health, if you have issues with that. So there's a lot of scenarios, but I don't think there's any peptide besides maybe growth hormone you should or could take long term. And also be aware, peptides signalize enzymatic, metabolic, sometimes hormonal reactions, but inside your body to increase it, you make your body increase that. But it doesn't mean they're 100,000% selective. So it means other pathways could also be affected. They're pretty selective, though, I got to say. But, people also react differently. So you want to be sure not to use anything you really think you don't actually need just to replace something that you could figure out or fix in a simpler way, but you're just too lazy.
Okay. I see you have profiles, very detailed profiles on 31 different peptides here. I'm just curious because you've been around a little while now. I've been around a very long time. What are the peptides that have been in use the longest by bodybuilders and have, let's say, the best track record for results out of any of the peptides?
Oh, I would say definitely PPC 157 have been and TB 500 have the very best result side effect ratio. I've heard of people, though, that overdid TB 500, for example, and that caused some issues. So, be aware, everything you do, don't start at the maximum range, at the end of the maximum range, which might be, commonly used. And also realize what your reason for it is. If you take something like the immunoprotective thymosin, do you take it for preventative measures, or do you take it because you're fighting off the crazy viral infection? So therefore, you would need other dosages. So always take into consideration when you look at these spectrums that the end of the spectrum might be for like the worst case scenario, someone who really needs it badly, and you just want to fight a little inflammation and recover faster, might not want to go to that end range.
Okay.
What you said, okay, BPC, TB500. There are some
what about like
GHRPs.
those are healing, but what about like, you know, everyone's looking for like something that's going to give them steroid-like effects, and I think most people that use peptides are using steroids too. But which are the ones that you would say tried and true, definitely going to help you gain muscle or lose fat or both?
So the most anabolic would be IGF-1.
Yeah.
The other ones are mostly not really anabolic. Some help a little with protein synthesis increase. I think the AOD, for example, helps a tiny bit with that. But then there's GHRPs, which can help kind of with anabolism through increasing growth hormone. But if you're natural and you just take a GHRP, you can't expect crazy muscular gains, but way better recovery. So you could train more often, maybe sleep better. So there's these effects. But if you have the money, I would rather take an HGH than a GHRP, because you just know exactly how much you're getting from it. And you don't really know how much that converts into the GHRP and what other growth triggers it might trigger within your body, because they're not as well researched. So I would always prefer the HGH in that regard. The question is, do you have access, and how much are you taking? Are you taking it, like, if you want to take it indefinitely, I would really go to the growth hormone, because we know more about it. We've seen more. I don't know any data. Maybe there is some, but long-term data on GHRP use, that's like really like every day or at least 5 days a week, I have not seen, and that's why I wouldn't recommend it. But there's so many different use case scenarios for different ones. I think IGF has been. I know IGF has been used for a long time in bodybuilding, mainly post and pre-workout. What else do we have that has a good track record? CJC has been taken a lot in the last 5 years or so. I'm not a big fan of it. Especially, I'm not a big fan of the long-acting ones, like ibumatorin or MK677. I think that's really bad for most people with their blood sugar, and it's just not a good thing. And people are binging on it. Not everyone has the same effects. Some people can use it and have some effect, but I think the long-acting GHRPs are really not good because of the blood sugar issue, that the GH levels are always pretty high. You rather want to use them when it makes most sense. So let's say before you train, or before you do an activity to increase the fat burning, and maybe before bed. And so I would rather go to the, fast acting ones, not the slow acting ones, for health reasons. What else do we have?
Well, it's interesting that semaglutide is on this list, and that's all these. I can't remember the catch-all term. GLP-1 drugs. Yeah. Were bodybuilders using semaglutide for that purpose long before Ozempic was created?
So, no. It basically started at the same time that bodybuilders have been using it more. Some people also would just use a microdose, and not just for getting leaner, but, for example, to reduce fatty liver, or just get their blood sugar back in range. And some people also use microdoses, and they already have the appetite suppressing effect if they need it, and they don't have any of the side effects. But would I use it long term? Definitely not. There has been some, I don't know which cancer, but there has been some cancer, I think it was kidney or thyroid, increase that was not insignificant amongst GLP-1 users compared to non-users. But if you microdose and you take it for a short amount of time and for a good reason, okay, Do bodybuilders need that? Absolutely not. I think there's a good use case scenario for these drugs, and that is when people, our society is unfortunately the way that some people just can't stop eating, and then they get so fat that they would literally die if they won't stop, and they can't stop. You've seen that on TV. Yes, like that's not as common as you might think, maybe. I don't know. But before someone dies, I'd rather have them take Ozempic. And also, the GLP-1s are not catabolic. That's a big misunderstanding. There's no pathway. There's no pathway that makes them catabolic. The reason why you see so much muscle loss in people using them, it is because it is fat people using them that have a shitty diet and don't work out. And now these fat people don't change their diet. They just eat less shit. So they're still on shit diets. So let's say, and there's no protein, no muscle preserving, and there's no activity. So no stimulus to preserve muscle. So now we're in a protein deficit and we don't move. And if there was no Ozempic and they would eat the same, they would also lose that much muscle because they're just fasting on shit food. And if you fast on shit food and you get lean, or like you lose 30 pounds fasting on chips, you're going to lose muscle. And I mean, that's really the case, because you can look it up. There's no pathway in which it would act catabolic. And actually, it would rather be a tad anabolic because it improves glucagon, and that's very catabolic. So, but also a lot of the benefits, people also mistake the mechanisms of action and think the drug would cause that, when actually the muscle loss causes that mostly. So a lot of the good effects that you see in the study outcomes are not because of the retatrutide or the Ozempic or the Mounjaro. It's because people lose fat and they lose weight, and then their blood sugar goes down and all these things. And mostly you can say that was the contributing factor was the loss of weight and not the GLP-1 itself. To a degree, it really improves blood sugar and certain things and can reduce fatty liver, yes. But a lot of that is also because people don't eat that much anymore. They don't overeat and they lose weight.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen some people. Yeah. I've seen some people in my age group. They don't work out, and they went the Ozempic or Mounjaro route to lose weight, and they just lost a ton of. They didn't have much muscle, but they just lost from everywhere. They look very, very sickly, very unhealthy to me now. They're just skinnier and unhealthy rather than fat and unhealthy. But I guess that's better because you're not obese anymore. I wanted to get into growth hormone because that you've devoted an extensive series of chapters in this ebook to growth hormone. It's probably the most commonly used peptide by bodybuilders who might not even realize it's a peptide. The dosages now for life extensionists, if you go to a TRT clinic, HRT clinic, they're going to prescribe you 2 or 3 units a day. That's for general health. I mean, that's a dose that kept me fairly lean and everything. But bodybuilders have been using far greater doses than that for a long time now to see better results in terms of anabolism, I guess, combined with the steroids. I was critical on about your podcast, not what you said, but Chase and some other people. They're advocating what I consider very, very high doses. We're talking 20 IUs, 20 IUs of growth hormone a day, which they say, and tell me, would using 20 IUs a day of growth hormone give you far greater results in conjunction with steroids than you would have seen? And what's the danger in using 20 IUs of growth hormone every day for months and months on end?
I mean, growth hormone, you grow everything, right? So you're very likely also to grow your heart. Your heart is also a muscle. There's the biggest danger, and that muscle is a muscle that can barely ever be repaired. We used to think. Now, actually, Justin Compton had some, I think it was holes, but some injuries to his heart muscle. I don't know, 3 years ago or something. And he started taking the peptide BPC 157. And a few months later, his doctor said, if I wouldn't have known you had that, I couldn't see it anymore.
Wow.
So that's crazy. That's good news, but BPC won't shrink your heart. So there's a big danger in heart enlargement and growth hormone. It will make everything grow, right? So your elbows will stick out, and your feet will grow, and your hands will grow, and your ears will grow. If you have big ears already, buddy, you'll get huge ears, and your nose will grow too. You had a huge nose. So I have still the same shoe size that I had like 15 years ago. I'm not taking these crazy amounts, but for muscle building purposes, I think you would have to take more than 5 IUs. I mean, 3 to 4 will maybe do a little bit, but to really like have some significant effect, I would say you need to do a little more than 5 units. And I think a lot of the pros are in between 6 to 8. And yeah, some go to 10, 12 more. People are just like more is better and whatever it takes. I don't think that this is whatever it takes. I think what it takes to get there is most of all genetics. And it's not going to be like, oh, I didn't make it to the Olympia because I just took 6 instead of 10 units. I don't think so. But if you just to take 2 forever, at a certain point and a certain mass, it'll come to the point that, it'll be a little more. For like I'm in classic, and I'm not a guy who puts on muscle like super easily. And you might not need growth hormone ever to get a classic pro card if you have somewhat decent genes. And like if you do 3 to 4 and that's your max for life, you can still win a classic Olympia if you have the genes for it. So yeah, that's what I would say on growth hormone. And obviously, if you have a cancer, it'll grow faster if you're taking growth hormone. And if you take 20 IUs, and like you should get checked because that will grow fast. So I would do probably more cancer checkups if I would take those amounts.
I mean, I have nothing against Chase, so I keep bringing up his name only because it seems to me, and maybe I'm remiss for not listening to the entire interviews at times, but it seems to me like he was saying that he didn't see really significant results until he pushed the doses very high.
That's what he said. Yeah,
which was around 20 IUs a day was what he was saying. Am I right?
Yeah, but he also realized that it was a lot of fullness and not actual size. So once he gets off, it's like like a balloon, like a balloon. So, and if you get on stage and you want to be absolutely lean, you take out your growth hormone, and then it will show anyways if you're just inflated.
So is there a number? I mean, 20 seems like a lot to me, but I hear people doing an entire 36 IU pen a day. Either they're getting it free or maybe they're Bitcoin billionaires. I don't know where they get all this money, but do you believe there's an upper limit for growth hormone at which no further positive results are going to be witnessed? Only, insulin resistance and acromegaly and things like that. Is there a number in your head that you would never go above?
Personally, I've never gone above 6, and that was not even for a long time, very briefly. But it's hard to say. I mean, a lot of people say like around 16, 18 is absolute max. I think for a lot of people, it won't make a difference if they do 10 or 18, Yeah. So that's very tough to tell but I would still say 10 do more than 5.
Yeah.
But would I say 15 do more than 10? Probably not. Okay,
fair enough. Let's take a couple questions.
Yeah.
Anadrol peptide? Well, come on now.
No.
Even I can answer that. Well, we got Leo. Terminator juice for Seth Ferrocci. I don't know what that's in reference to. Do you?
I don't know either. Okay. But do you think Seth is going to do the Masters Olympia?
I don't know, but we just heard Kai wants to get paid to do the Masters Olympia.
Like every year. He wasn't that in 2017 when he said well, if we have the negotiations and we come to agree to the terms, then I'm going to compete, which the translation was, if they pay me enough, I'm going to compete. Yeah. I mean, at the Masters Olympia, I kind of get it because they don't have big prize money. But if he thinks he's the greatest bodybuilder of all times of his time back then,
yeah,
and the prize money at the Olympia was 400,000. If he thinks he's the best, like why does he need to get paid extra if he gets 400,000 anyways?
650 now.
Yeah. No, I just meant back then. The first time
then, you're right. Yeah.
he talked about wanting to be paid.
It was actually that weekend, and that they raised it from 300 to 400 all of a sudden, and I think it was to show Kai, haha, this is what you get for screwing us over like that. But yeah, I mean, the Masters Olympia, not to put it down, I'm an old guy, but if it was that profitable, they wouldn't have it just every other year. They would have it every year. They would have it in Vegas or something. It doesn't make a ton of money. Kai, someone said, well, they'll make millions of dollars more if Kai does the show. I'm like, how? How are they going to make millions of dollars more?
I don't know. It's sold out anyways.
They're going to sell out the venue, so they're not going to make one more dime from tickets. Pay-per-view? Sure. What are they going to charge for the pay-per-view? $50? I mean, are they going to get 1 million people to watch it because Kai's in it?
I have a good idea. They should be like, Kai, so let's look at the views last year. Every view on top, we pay you for it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So then you can show how many more you can bring in, and it's all merit. If you bring that many more, good for you.
Yeah. We have
people can vote. Are you only watching this because of Kai Green?
Well, they said maybe Phil will do it. Phil's not coming back for the Masters Olympia. Get the F out of here. No. Come on now. All right, here's a question from Zionic 484. Currently on Reta. You know what that is? Because I have no idea.
Retatrutide. That's one of the newest GLP-1s, and it works through 3 different pathways, and the other one's through 2. So it seems to be a tad more effective.
Okay, so 3 milligrams
a dose. Yeah,
3 milligrams a week, 750 micrograms of SLU. You know what that is?
He means SLUPP 332. That's kind of an exercise mimetic, so also good for metabolism enhancement.
Okay, 90 milligrams test twice a week. Super shredder. What the hell? Super shredder.
I think that's kind of some amino. What's it called? This one peptide website. They have like injectable mixes with whatever L-carnitine and green tea, and you can inject the stuff. It's kind of I don't know what exactly is in there, but stuff like that.
Okay, 1 mil a day of that. Tried AOD in the past with backwater. Nothing noticeable. Would like to add AOD. Results though, I guess he's just asking you, should he add AOD to this?
So AOD has to be mixed with what's it called? Acetic acid.
What the hell?
It needs to be like a little more what's it called? Acidified. Like the acid, it needs more.
It's been made more acidic.
Bacteriostatic water is not aggressive enough to dilute it.
Okay.
So he said he used it with bacteriostatic water, so he should get the other water. And the AOD 9604 is kind of like a selective HGH frag. It's only has the properties of growth hormone, the fat burning properties. So that's the only thing it does. So you would take that pre-workout or pre any activity and maybe pre-bed. And like you can take like 300 micrograms, 500 micrograms, something like that. Noticeable. That's always hard to say. Noticeable. Yeah. You know, some people they are on all these things and they still overeat. You can't. You know, maybe your overeating is just 100 calories more because you have a little metabolism enhancement. But if you don't undereat, like I said, it's not performance replacing drugs. So I don't know what you want to notice, but it's definitely going to work.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about taking polypharmacy, if you're taking 3 different steroids, 3 different peptides, a couple SARMs, how could you possibly know which one is having effects and which ones are just you're wasting your time and money on? Because you're on 10 different things. So, you know, you're not going to do the scientific experiment method, I guess, in one at a time, which is the only way you would really know. Get some general comments. Stop taking drugs. Okay. Don't go on stage if you have a GH gut. Yeah, that's true. Well,
I mean okay, I agree with that.
Yeah, look, talk to me about, because in GH, again, I know I hate to make this all about GH, but that is the peptide most bodybuilders are concerned with. Will most people using GH eventually get organ growth and get a bloated midsection, a bubble gut, a GH gut?
No, I think it has a lot to do with insulin resistance and insulin use in conjunction, and very high dosages. Because I always say, like, look at these older guys that have those beer bellies, and they kind of have the same thing. So it also might be a little organ fat as well, which bodybuilders also tend to accumulate when they their blood sugar is off for a long time. They take a lot of HGH, but if you manage that right, it shouldn't happen, and if you don't go overboard. So the insulin use is one thing too, and then it must be something that has to do with the insulin resistance, because when you look at people that are not taking any steroids and they have these beer bellies, these bellies are oftentimes not fat. They're kind of these guys are not lean, but they have like shredded calves, and they have like maybe this big of a layer of fat. But there's other people that stomachs don't stick out as much, and they have way more body fat. So, and I think that's the same issue. It comes from insulin resistance and things of that nature. And no one really knows where the GH gut comes from, but that's kind of my,
Fair enough. I mean, I can honestly tell you,
conclusion. Yeah.
I had a so-called GH gut years before I ever used GH. I never used insulin. It was just overeating. You know, I look at my son's dieting for his first show. He's got a 27.5-inch waist right now.
Yeah.
You know, he's not a big dude, trust me, but he has a tiny waist. I can tell you that I built a massive midsection, a thick, horrifying midsection. I think it was simply from regular gear and overeating for years and years. Stuffing.
So you probably built insulin resistance by having all these carbs you'd never used for a long time.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I mean, my body probably needed, 500, 600 grams of carbs a day max, and I was taking in 2,000, 3,000 grams at times. Yeah, I was.
There you go.
Eating like a little piggy boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, here we go. Next question is, Leo, is there a big difference as a result of using pharma versus underground GH in your experience?
In my experience, no. But that depends on your underground stuff. I mean, if the the powder is the powder and the GH is the GH, then it all comes from China. But sometimes it's not preserved as well, or it's fake, or it's not 100% pure, and then obviously there's a difference. But technically there shouldn't be. If you're 100% sure that it's your raw is real, then it should do the same. So you obviously, on average, I would say pharma is better, because on average pharma is on there what's in there, and UGL is maybe, I can't tell you a number. Maybe I'd just say like 50-50, and then on average pharma is better. But you can find like I have used both and had no difference, because obviously the UGL was legit. And if you find a legit UGL, not recommending the use here of anything, but then save that money.
I mean, people say you should look for certain telltale signs, like your hand should start getting tingly or numb. You should be having wrist pain. I never had any of that, and even when I used both underground and I've used pharma, and I never had that with either one. But Dr. Tulliato said one way, if you really want to know if your GH is real or not, is you would go and get your blood tested immediately after, within 30 minutes, to check your IGF-1 levels, because GH will temporarily spike your IGF-1 levels, correct?
Yeah, that's true. Even a little longer than just temporarily, but the issue is also how well is your body and your liver at raising that IGF. For example, Boston Lloyd, destroyed himself so much that he and his wife took the same HGH, and when he took 10 units and she took 2, her IGF was still higher.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
but if you know your IGF on pharma, and then you test afterwards in a like short like difference in time, because your body could change, then you can really tell. Like if you test your pharma stuff week 1, week 2 you test the UGL, that's probably the best you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell that I was on 2.5 units for a very long time, for like a couple of years. And when I was off of it, if I ran out or whatever, it was just, for me, I noticed it got me leaner. With doing no additional cardio, no change in my diet, I would probably be about just maybe 10% leaner. It was a noticeable difference. The growth hormone, I didn't get any bigger, or maybe a little fuller, I guess, but not much on 2.5. But the leanness, I think you don't need much growth hormone for that.
Yeah, I mean, the growth hormone holds water with most of the people, and then you confuse your water with fat. And like for me, the growth hormone makes me stay leaner, but I know I appear a little less lean than I am. But without the growth hormone, I would probably be at the same look, but it would actually be fat instead of water. Yeah. So I feel the growth hormone helps me stay a little leaner, but I truly look my leanest when I take it out, which is what I said before, because you tend to hold water, and but the growth hormone helps. It might not help if your insulin sensitivity is already total crap, and you should reset everything, and then you might want to get off the growth hormone for a while and reset that and take, I don't know, maybe metformin, maybe just berberine, eat a lower carb diet for a while, but never go 0 carbs unless you really have to, because that will also slow down your thyroid. Yeah.
Okay. This is a question I don't know if you can answer or not, but I'm going to throw it up there anyway. Elliot Dermond, who I had on the show, he's the guy that missed 3 NPC nationals in a row, last-minute health problems. He said abusing methylene blue gave him blood clots, which I believe he had blood clots in his liver. Do you know what methylene blue is? I have no idea.
Yeah, methylene blue is like a drug to increase cognitive function and oxygen to the brain.
Oh.
And people use all kinds of amounts, from 10 milligrams a day to like 200. So I wouldn't know what a crazy overdose would do. It's kind of wild that he claims that. I mean, it could be, but the guy abused a shit ton of other things too, and now blaming it to the methylene blue, maybe, but I think chances are, no. But I could be wrong. But he used all kinds of other things, and now all of a sudden, no, it's the methylene blue. It's not that I take gear. Okay.
Like I just said, if you're on all these different things, you don't know what's having positive effects, which ones are hurting you. It's not a very scientific way to assess. I want to throw this up because while I have an actual Classic Pro on with me, it's time to rate. Guess who? Can you guess who it is? It's Sam. That's right. So, you're a Classic Pro. You turned pro back in 2019?
2020. Yeah.
So, you're a fairly newer pro. You're not brand new. You've been at it a few years now, but he has a weight cap difference. I think it's like 8 to 10 pounds. He's allowed to be heavier than what we're seeing here. But can you rate his potential? What are the strong points that you see on him? What do you see that needs to be better if he decides to pursue this and compete in Classic next year?
I think he impressed me a lot. His condition was pretty good. Yeah, it could have been even better, but it was mostly a flexing issue, which you see here when he flexes his legs. And he has really nice quality and separation when you look at the arms. It's not like this blurry mass. It's really a lot of detail. He has really symmetrical abs, which I like. He has a very full chest. Yes, he could have a little more upper chest. His back would be his biggest weakness, I would say, maybe his hamstrings. I think his waist is totally fine, especially if he would tweak it a little more. like he could make his waist look even smaller when he would tweak sideways. And the classic, yes, it's about a tiny waist, but it's also not a waist contest. Some people are like, this is not a white waist. Come on. And some people are like, oh, like classic is just small waist, and then you're winning. Small waist, wide shoulders, you're winning. It's so much more. Like you saw on Logan Franklin, how far muscle quality and this, crazy look and shreds can bring you, because Mike Sommerfeld has so much better of a X taper and density and muscle mass, but he had really great quality, and that's what almost got him in first place. When you look at the back shot of Franklin and Sommerfeld is way wider, he's way thicker, and he's mega shredded. But when you look at Franklin's detail in his arms from the back, you're like, what the heck's going on there? And Mike does not have that detail. Also from the front, you look at the bicep, Logan Franklin, you see so much more detail, so much more fibers. And that's also a big part in what's classic to me. Mike outmuscles him by so much and has such a perfect X taper that he deservedly won. You see it here. He just has so much more muscle, and his back is so thick. But look at the arms. Look at the separation on Logan Franklin. There's so many cuts in there.
Yeah, I mean, Mike outmuscles him, and that's we have trouble defining classic, the media people and the fans, but you've been right up there in the mix. Are both of these guys equally classic, or would you say Logan is, quote unquote, more classic than Mike?
I think Mike is more classic in his shape, like in his X frame, and Logan when it comes to muscle quality. And even though Mike could not be in any better condition, he still looks drier than Mike. Even he looks almost Munzer-esque. So and that's both aspects. So if you could combine that, if Mike now had the separation in the arms that Logan had, and a tad more in the legs, then he would be, unbeatable. I think he's actually unbeatable right now.
That was my next question. Is he a lock for the Olympia?
Maybe the person that also has his kind of frame, even though he's shorter, would be Terrence Ruffin. Wow. He has a very great X frame, and he might have a tad more, quality in his arms, definition-wise. But overall size, maybe he put on a lot. He's claiming that. So that was going to be interesting. But I see Mike winning the Olympia unless he comes off. And that's the crazy thing in classic. If you are 95%, goodbye, brother.
Yep.
Comes to the top 10, you go from first to eighth. Look at Wesley. If Wesley's on in shape, he's in the top, and if he just slacks a tad, he loses a little fullness in his legs, all the way back. So that's really interesting. And I can see this guy who got 11th, Niall Darwin. He's called One Punch Nas on Instagram. I can see him going far, because he was not in 100% shape. Look at Terrence, and this guy was 11th, and he could have been drier. So that's very impressive. Yeah, look at this. So he has really, really good muscle quality, right?
I'm gonna call him one punch. What's his name?
Yeah, One Punch Nas.
Oh yeah, there he is. Okay.
Of course, yeah.
Let's give this guy a look.
And when you look at the middle picture there, take the middle. No, not that one.
Wow, look at that though.
This one, and you go through. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Look at the front double, next one, I think.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah. And he could have been in better shape. There's little dryness to go, and he's been putting on so much muscle in the last 2 years. If he just puts on a quarter this year and gets completely dry, he's crazy dangerous. So I can see him moving up by in the top 5.
I mean, Logan was, I think, 13th at this last Olympia.
Yeah, see?
He's not, if he brings that Arnold look to the Olympia this year, he's not going to be 13th. Yeah. He'll finally be up. I think he'll finally get this. Yeah, this guy's fantastic.
And don't get me wrong, if I come in this shape, I'm happy. But he's Olympia top 10, top 11. So he can, he could get even 3% better, and then he's top 5.
It's crazy to look at this picture and think this was not his best condition. He could have been even better. But you're right. Crazy, huh? There's so many levels.
They're so close. I don't think I've ever been that great of a condition. Maybe when I won my pro card, but it's just, it's just wild that there's still more. You can still get better. You look at this, you're like, perfection. But then you put a Logan Franklin next to it, and you're like, dang, he could have been drier.
Where can we post your courses? Come on, that's easy. Go to it's all your links are on your.
It's payhip.com/Leo Mayrhofer.
I have it in the description, guys, but also links on both of his Instagram accounts, Austrian_powers and at overcome.podcast. But payhip.com, I think it is. I think I have a website.
Yeah. It's a cool website. If any one of you wants to sell ebooks or something, I think they only charge like a 4 or 5% processing fee, and the rest goes to you. So it's not like Amazon or whoever. I mean, obviously on Amazon you could sell more, but I don't even know if I could put stuff like that on Amazon. I don't even know if they would sell it. I'm not sure. Maybe someday. I'll have to see if that's okay with them. I have it in German too, by the way, for my German people, because audience might be kind of German. So
I think I might try to butcher it just to have fun.
Okay, let's go.
Die Peptide.
That's not bad.
No?
Yeah. Die Peptide Encyclopedia.
Die Peptide Encyclopedia. Oh boy.
Pretty good.
Eine umfassende Guide von A to Z von IFBB Pro Leo Mayrhofer. Yeah. Is your German still as good as it ever was, or are you starting to lose it?
I just forget some vocabs sometime, because especially when it comes to bodybuilding, because I mostly talk about everything in English. I'm like, dang, what was that in German again? I'm like, I don't even know if a word exists. And some people just no one says cycle in German, like the German translation for that. No one says like Zyklus. No one says that. We also use the word cycle. We used to say Kur or something, but so there's a lot of German words that we don't use the actual translation for it, and we use the English words too. And then you get a little confused here and there, and you miss a word. Yeah. But I bet if I'd be in Germany for half a year, I would lose my English and my German would be on.
No, I mean, my wife was born in the U.S., but she spoke Spanish before she could speak English, because her parents had just come over from Cuba, and she forgets a lot of Spanish words. I'll ask her, "What's the word for that?" And she's like, because she doesn't use it anymore. So that's it. That's where you can get it. Leo, love that you have PayPal. Just purchase. Can't wait to read it. All right.
Yeah. So you can pay with PayPal. You can also pay with credit card. Both works.
Right on.
Yeah.
A lot of ways to pay these days. You got the Venmo, the Cash App, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I like PayPal better actually. But there's Stripe. It's called. When you put stuff in Stripe, you can use Stripe, and then that's the way they pay you out. Yeah, it's pretty convenient. Everything. The world got so great. With technology, if you use it right, it's such a gift, and if you use it wrong, it's such a tool for evil, right? It's
true.
It's wild, and now we have to navigate that. Damn. Also the information. There's so much misinformation too. That's why I wrote the books, and people hear these imposter gurus. I'm not even calling myself a guru or a biochemist. I'm not a biochemist, but there's people that call themselves, biochemist guru, and you like, bro, you just talk like this was just wrong, what you just said. And people hear some terms that sound sophisticated, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to hire this guy. And yeah, it's tough to find out who's really good. But what's interesting, Ryan Root, who owns the hormone clinic, Hormones for Me. He was on my podcast, and he said a good way to find out, and when you listen to people like that, do they say I a lot? Do they make conclusions from their own experience a lot towards what they're going to recommend to you? Then they're probably a bad coach, unless they say, this is what I experienced, but it could go different for everyone. And I also know people that the exact opposite happens or whatever, okay, then it's fine. But if they're always like, I used DECA and test and it was great, and I used this and I did that, I did it this way, and I trained like this, so you have to train like that. And it's like, okay, then, that's just copy paste whatever you did. That's not training. That's not individual. And there's no drug in the world where everyone reacts the same way. Like none.
Yeah. I mean, it's also people who are just genetic freaks. They think whatever they did is going to work for everybody. And my favorite quote is from the late Arthur Jones, who invented the Nautilus machines. And he said, if you want to know how the Kentucky Derby winner, the horse, runs so fast, you don't ask the horse. The horse doesn't know why he runs so fast. He just does it. Man,
that's great. Good analogy.
All right. Well, this is your third or fourth podcast today. You've got another one coming up. So I thank you for being generous with your time. Guys, the book is the Peptide Encyclopedia. The link to get that is in the description. Peptides are very complicated. Don't try to navigate it on your own. Leo has broken it all down for you with descriptions, doses. Yep.
Also, for everyone, comment on this. I'll check out the comments like the next few days, and I can answer the questions in the comments too. It's going to help more people see this and get better information, and maybe also read the comments to get, all the questions answered that you might have asked for the ones who weren't fortunate enough to have free time right now during this live. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
Or you just go on my Instagram and ask away. Yeah.
Now ask it here. Help me out. You're better at YouTube than I am, Leo, because you're supposed to ask questions for people to leave comments, and I forget to do that half the time.
Yeah.
But that's very generous of you that you will come and check these out.
Yeah, of course.
Most people just see ya. So appreciate it, man. So that's it, guys. Pick up your copy of the book, and he's also got the steroid. What's it called? The Steroid Encyclopedia? No.
Anabolic Handbook, Science of Steroids.
There you go. So you can get a full education on all the PEDs that you would ever possibly be thinking about using as a bodybuilder.
And I can announce that I'm also going to put out a supplement book. So, and I will categorize it in a few different things, like supplements for performance, for cognitive function, for organ health, whatever all the categories are. And then boom, you have also that. And also what I want to put in there is which forms are most bioavailable and you should buy. Because a lot of people are like, oh, take magnesium. And then they take the stupid oxide where they just get diarrhea from, because because you know how people are. Oh, magnesium. Oh, I'll get the cheapest I can see on Amazon, right? And then they get all it that they can flush down the toilet right away. So I'll do that too.
That sounds great. If you need to go poop and you're backed up, get some of that cheap magnesium. Yeah.
Actually, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good joke, though. Drew says, Leo, I mustache you a question before you leave. Well, you better hurry up, Drew, because we're about to leave. What's your question? Or was that just a joke? I think that might have been it.
I guess that might have been it.
Yeah. Are you committed to this? You going to keep that forever?
I guess. It's actually, I like it. But you know what? It's on RX Muscle. People were calling me all kinds of people, like Brad Pitt from Inglourious Basterds was probably the best one. Yeah. Then there was Freddie Mercury, and what's the other guy? Magnum. So
Tom Selleck.
So all kinds. Tom Selleck. So also leave a comment. Who do I look like most? That's going to be fun. Maybe if you come up with
I'd have to think about that one for a while. Huh.
Yeah.
I think it would be the guy that looked like Freddie Mercury that Arnold fought at the end of the movie Commando. I don't know the actor's name. English. I think he was an English actor. He was a pretty big dude.
Maybe I'm White Apollo Creek.
Maybe. Apollo Creek. So comment below,
Imagine
guys.
Some curly hair.
Who does Leo look like with that stash? All right. Well, that's it, guys. The link is in the description. Check out his new ebook. Get yourself an education. Knowledge is power, especially when you're putting these things into your body. You really want to know exactly what you're putting in and do it the safest way possible. Bodybuilding, it's not always the healthiest sport, but there is a healthier way to do it. So check out Leo's books and you'll be well on your way. Thank you so much,
and subscribe
Leo.
to Ron.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I got that.
Yeah.
I got that running the whole time on the bottom. That's it,
Oh,
guys. So have an awesome weekend. Thank you again, Leo. Thanks everyone who participated. And that's it. See you right here.